Hello, my name is Jeff Bundy. You may know me as the guy that asks you for money when you listen to the radio. That is not what I'm here to do today. I'm here for a new kind of short show that we're doing called Sidebar, where I'm going to be interviewing some of the reporters, producers, and behind the scenes folks at WFAE to give listeners like you a better understanding of the work that they're doing, particularly right now as we're all dealing with the outbreak of the coronavirus. Despite this fancy, cool green background that we have, I and my guest today are both broadcasting from our homes. This is a Zoom recording that we're doing. So you may hear dogs barking, kids playing, toilets flushing, who knows. It's all something that we're figuring out as we go. And hopefully it'll come together well, and it'll give you a sense of some of the great work being done behind the scenes. So my guest today that I mentioned is the executive producer of Charlotte Talks. Her name is Wendy Herkey. Wendy, welcome to the first episode of Sidebar.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm honored.
Well, I thought that it would be good to have you on as the first person I talked to, because you are the person behind the scenes helping Mike Collins, the host of Charlotte Talks, prepare for all of his interviews. This is the first kind of interview that I've ever done like this, so I thought I'd start off asking you appropriately, what are your tips on giving a good interview?
On giving a good interview? Being well prepared, that's probably the most important tip. Having great producers, that's another good one.
Well, I am neither prepared or have great producers, so sorry, viewers. So, Wendy, I mentioned that you're the executive producer of Charlotte Talks. What does that mean?
Well, the show has, I think, we have a total of 6 people on staff. Mike is the host. I'm the executive producer, but I also produce individual shows. But we also have 2 producers, Chris Miller and Aaron Keever, and we have an assistant producer, Jesse Steinmetz, as well as our production associate, Jennifer Warstrom. So I just kind of try and keep the team together and make sure that we're all communicating and make sure that we've got the right shows scheduled and the right mix of shows and the guests that we need to have and that sort of thing. So,
as a listener to the station, I've not heard any change to the quality of the broadcasts of Charlotte Talks, but I know from being on staff at the station that none of you, or you're not all at the station. How are you producing the show now remotely?
Well, first, thanks for saying that, because it feels a lot different to us, especially at first. But basically, Mike's at home. He's got a great headset with a microphone on it and a setup at his house. We've got a nice Comrex connection for him there. We are all working from home for most of the day, but whoever has produced that day's show is the one who actually goes into the studio. So there's only one person in the studio. We really don't interact with anyone else. And we connect with the guests that way. We do a variety of ways. We do mostly do Zoom interviews, but we connect through Skype, Google Hangouts, phone interviews, some of the ways that we've done it in the past, but it is all remote guests now, and even a remote host.
So are you doing anything like when you actually go into the station? Because I've not been there since March 13th when we paused our fundraising campaign. What are you doing? What does the studio look like? Are you wiping down the microphones? What are the procedures you're taking to keep everybody safe?
There's a whole process. So I try personally not to touch anything but in my office and in Studio A, which is where our show is produced from, when I go there. We're only there for a couple hours, so I try not to even go into the kitchen or to the other side of the station, that sort of thing. But basically, yeah, you walk in, we're to wipe down the studio before we use it and after we use it, and there's hand sanitizer in there that we just sort of periodically use. So today when I went in, I sort of wiped down the casing of the microphone and the board and the computer keys and everything before I got to work. And then I did what I needed to do, and before I left, I made sure to wipe down everything else so the next person comes into a clean environment.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I have to imagine it's been challenging producing the show, but you've been with Mike and you've been with WFAE, with Mike almost from the beginning of Charlotte Talks, right? So is there any comparable experience that kind of prepared you for this?
No, I mean, I was there. I was really just at the beginning of my time with Mike in '01 when 9/11 happened. And at that point, we were still able to do our show the same way. It was just that everything we had to do was different. We had to cancel everything that we had on the schedule and completely rethink the types of topics we were doing. But we were able to do the show the same way. We were able to come to work. This is a lot different. This is not something that this is a lot different from anything else we've done.
Yeah, I've heard you all, the journalists, producers describe the news business as like drinking from a fire hose. You've had, almost every day since things kind of shut down here in Charlotte, almost every day you've devoted the entire hour of Charlotte Talks to coronavirus coverage. Can you talk about, I guess, the two things I'm wondering about, like, are there any of those interviews that you're particularly proud of, and kind of how are you managing it all? Like, there's 1,000 stories to cover right now. How are you selecting the things to focus on?
I think we're going with what feels. There's a lot of gut checking going on. What feels most important to people. There was even a day or two, a week or so ago, where we felt like we needed to have a break from the heavy stuff, and we did a whole show on quarantainment. And we did a show about why the office is important. So over the course of the 3 weeks, we have sort of, because people need a break every once in a while. But I really like our local news roundup. That's a show that I produce every week, and that's something I'm proud of, because it really is the wrap up of not only the stories and what's been happening, but the individual reporters from the different stations that we coordinate with, and sort of what they've been experiencing too. I really enjoy that. We had the mayor on earlier this week. I was really happy that we were able to have her on and talk about some of the things that the city is doing, and maybe even planning for in the recovery period.
Yeah. Well, that was actually one of the other questions that I had. You got an hour with the mayor. What are some questions you would ask her if time weren't an issue?
If time weren't an issue, I would want to know, what her daily is like. I know she's staying at home a lot, but I also know she's going into the office a lot. But yeah, I would kind of like to know personally from her, what is she doing? What is her staff doing? To sort of make this normal. I really enjoy hearing people's personal stories of how they're getting through this.
Yeah. On that note, how are you and your family doing and getting through all of this?
Oh, there's so much. People who know me know that I'm a baseball mom, and I'm missing a middle school and a high school baseball season right now, which really stinks. But we're also doing online school. So not only am I the executive producer of Charlotte Talks, but I am now a 7th and 10th grade teacher. But we're having a lot of time at home. My husband already works at home, so he's kind of used to this stuff. There are little things that stink. Like my son could get his license on Monday. He's not gonna be able to do that. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, they're staying busy. We're doing what we can, and actually, we're like getting along. So it's really kind of good so far.
That's very good. So, what are the biggest challenges you're dealing with right now, and how could listeners or someone watching this video, what could they maybe do to help?
Get in touch with us if there are particular questions that they have that they need answered, that they would like to know more about. Sharing their stories, that's a big deal. I mean, we like to hear not just Charlotte Talks, but the station as a whole. The news department as well likes to hear how people are weathering this. What experiences are they having with their jobs or their economies and paying the rent and that sort of thing. We want to hear from you.
What do you have lined up over the next couple of weeks?
The big thing that we're looking at right now, next Wednesday, that's the 15th, we're doing a statewide broadcast that we're coordinating. We're working with several different stations across the state, with WUNC in Chapel Hill, with BPR, the Blue Ridge Public Radio in Asheville, WHQR in Wilmington, and WFDD are all contributing pieces of the story. The governor's going to be on the show. So we're going to take a look around the entire state of North Carolina and how the response has been around the state. So I'm really looking forward to hearing the stories from the beaches to the mountains as we go through.
When will that air?
Wednesday morning, 9 o'clock.
Okay, great. Wendy, like I said, I know you're exceptionally busy right now, so I don't want to take up any more of your time. Thank you for this. And as a colleague and listener to WFAE, I want to thank you for the work that you're doing. I am relying on WFAE more than I ever have before, so sincerely, thank you for doing what
Thank
you
you.
do. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope that you are getting the information that you need to stay safe from WFAE, and we hope that if you can, you'll maybe consider making a donation to support the work of Wendy and the other journalists and producers in our newsroom. You can do that by calling 704-549-9000 or donating online at WFAE.org. Thank you.